Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Roman's Christmas. There's been another murder in this tavern. We are not having a good time. Ionis, our shark friend, has kind of been stabbed through the chest with an arrow. And the arrow was originally in our room. Someone's broken into our room, gone around the outside of the building and stabbed him during the night. But we don't know who did it or how they got in without us waking up. So I'm not sure. We are close to finishing our investigation. It's just a case of finding the final couple of bits of evidence and then we can get to the trial. Yeah, Tarzan is not in a good way. Even a rookie could tell Tarzan was trying to put up a brave front. Okay, so I'm not sure. We need to keep searching and hopefully we can find a little bit more evidence. So let's have a look around. There must be just one or two things I'm missing now. Check out the door. The door was shut. This artwork on the wall means nothing. Ionis is extra dead. He's stabbed through by his hand. Ionis' stomach isn't covered by the sheet. So what's that around Ionis' neck? What's that? There's a circular wound around his neck. The wound is deep enough to break Ionis' skin. Shark skin isn't easy to tear. I've compiled a detailed report for you. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Alright, thanks. Okay, so let's get this autopsy and I think we can be underway. So let's sniff. Sniffing is going to be important. I'm having trouble breathing now. What if I could sniff out the murderer? What if? Oh no. We're feeling a little bit rough. I close my eyes and try to breathe in and out slowly through my nose. But we are struggling because we had a bit of a rough night. Our sense of smell is kind of shot. It's kind of like a little bit over here, but there's not a lot to sniff. I can't tell them apart. They seem so connected, or they seem not. I can't smell a thing. With my nose clogged up, I couldn't smell a thing, but I have all the evidence I need. Time to find out the truth, but we can't rely on our sense of smell. We're going to have to go in and negotiate it, and hopefully we won't get blamed for the death, because we did have the murder weapon. Okay, save, and let's check it out. After a thorough search, I asked everyone to come to the hall for trial. Thrivy took off the mask he wore during his autopsy. You may start. Heron looked down and whispered, Unto God's gracious mercy and protection we commit you. The Lord bless you and keep you. May God's face to shine upon you, and may he be gracious unto you, both now and evermore. Amen. Lunik and Soda were sitting facing toward each other. I'm pretty sure nobody will agree to this, but is there anyone that thinks Ionis died from an accident? Okay, I got a theory, but I'm not sure it's polite to say. No games, Peter, just say it. I've heard rumours that some people strangle themselves on purpose to increase the pleasure. No, what kind of rumours do you listen to? Well, I'm pretty much sure that's totally unrelated and completely unimportant to both me or the case. Okay, so don't bring it up. How could someone do something so? Let's save the moral outrage for later, okay? Let's focus on what we can gather from the evidence. Yeah, let's not go into that territory. I'm pretty sure this isn't a case of sexual asphyxia. It seems to contradict the evidence. Okay, what proves Ionis did not die from sexual asphyxia? I didn't think I'd have to handle this question today. Got the arrow in his chest. The wound didn't bleed that much. Or the strangle marks on his neck. No, he got stabbed. The arrow stuck in his chest seems to be inserted quite deeply. The arrow was deep enough to penetrate his pleural cavity and possibly his lung. If it did, his lung would have collapsed due to the pressure difference. I'm pretty sure even a masochist would have trouble with such a self-inflicted wound. Also, if this was actually sexual asphyxia, the rope he used would still be on his neck. Maybe we can ignore the scars for the time being. Okay, we can basically rule out accidental death right now. It's time to figure out the likely suspects. First we can exclude 3 people in the attic. The reason is simple. The ladder makes some noise, so everyone would have heard it, right? Also, Anzox is still unconscious. Here you go, Tarzan's testimony. When you lift the ladder, it makes a squeaking noise. There's a loud friction sound heard when the ladder in the attic is dragged up and down. No one heard that. True enough, but we could narrow the range of possible suspects even further. If we exclude Marcus Lupik can be ruled out, since he was the night watcher last night, but I need you to testify further. But of course. Then the possible suspects can be narrowed down to Peter, Heron, Elegant, Marcus Solar and myself. Why did I... Oh, it's okay. I didn't do it anyway. The important thing is to find the murderer. So, I want to hear Marcus Soda's testimony first. Did you notice anything abnormal last night? I'll need all the details, no matter if you're unsure about it or not. If you say so. Here we go. Here come that testimony. I didn't sleep well last night, possibly because of the medicine. But instead of leaving the room, I laid on the bed and tried to sleep. While I was on the bed, I heard some abnormal sounds like the friction sound of someone trying to shift something outside. It was quite clear. Something smells fishy. Maybe I'll press harder for further information. So she's saying that the ladder was used. The rubbing sound could be heard clearly. You appear to have heard it quite well. There wasn't any wind howling last night, so I heard it clearly. Okay. The rubbing sound. A friction sound? Could you elaborate on that? It sounded like footsteps. It was louder when I first noticed that. Then the volume was getting lower and lower until it was almost inaudible. Then it became louder once more. And then it went down again. Okay. Did you not leave the room, really? So you stayed in your room all night? It's unsuitable for ladies to go out casually at night. Okay, tell us about the root potion. The medicine didn't work on you. I couldn't get to sleep even after I took the medicine. Then you would have had time to commit the crime instead of sleeping. Okay, I guess we'll leave it there. Please add what you mentioned. With pleasure. Testify again. Here we go. I fell asleep really late last night. As a lady, I didn't want to leave my room casually. While I was in the bed, I did hear sounds that sounded like footsteps. It was quiet at night, so I heard it quite clearly. Wait a second. Oh, here we go. What happened? Something sounds suspicious in your testimony. What's the contradiction? Wasn't it like really stormy last night? From what Lunik was saying, because the wind and snow sound was so loud, no unusual sounds was heard during his vigil and no one came downstairs. Marcus Lunik was the night watch last night downstairs. According to his own words, the snow was heavy at night. And you mentioned that it was quiet, so I'm afraid that's not possible. Well, maybe it's because I was nervous. I was in bed, listening to the footsteps. But I did hear it, I swear. Fine, I'm going to make a note of that. So, Soda heard a difference in sound because what caused the change in volume? Distance changed, the volume of the blizzard changed, the footsteps changed. Was it someone stamping? The suspect outside was deliberately controlling their footsteps. And then, in this way, they could fake their movement noises. But from the many footprints on the maintenance ledge, it's quite clear that someone outside the window did move around. Well, what caused the sounds Soda heard to change in volume? Was it the distance? The suspect was moving on the ledge outside the tavern, so the distance from Soda's room also changed. The footsteps sounded faint when far away, and grew louder as they got closer. In other words, it is because of their movements. From the map of the tavern. When the suspect committed the crime, they must have passed Soda's room twice. The suspect first passed by Soda's room on the ledge outside. At that time, the noise the suspect made had not yet attracted Soda's attention. When Soda finally heard the noise, the suspect was already on the ledge past her room. As the suspect continued to walk toward Eunice's room, their footsteps were getting quieter as well. Outside Eunice's room, the suspect entered the room and murdered Eunice. After committing the crime, the suspect returned along the same path and passed outside Soda's room again. As the suspect returned to their own room, their footsteps grew progressively quieter until they disappeared. This can explain why the sound of footsteps that Marquis Soda has heard changed from loud to quiet and loud again and then disappeared. The possible suspects are narrowed down to 2 people. Really? I didn't get that at all. Okay, so we're going to go Elegant. Sorry, I think it's you. What? And Heron. A suspect 4. That seems true considering the location of the room, but who else? Let's go with... I guess it's Peter. Peter is suspect 1. In other words, Heron and Peter, who is staying in the rooms on the right, had to pass by Soda's room if they were going to commit crimes in Eunice's room. Wait a second. Yeah, I don't think that's right at all. Because there's a gap outside Sean's room, so no one could have got through that way, right? The ledge outside Sean's room broke down decades ago. But it's still possible if the murderer jumped over the gap. You can't easily jump over such a big gap unless you're Tarzan. If the murderer didn't come down from the rooms on the right side, it wouldn't have made that kind of sound. Then how do you explain Soda's testimony? Perhaps she heard it wrong. I know exactly what I heard, okay? Which means we are the only two suspects. And I know clearly that I'm innocent, which means you're the culprit. Anyway, care to tell me what you did last night? Why me? Sorry, we're gonna have to do it. Okay, I'll testify after you then, just to be fair. Okay, very well. Here we go. You know, if the murderer did break into the room from the outside, then we are the only two suspects. I was sleeping the whole evening, and I'm unsure of how to prove my innocence. But I have no motive to kill Ionis. Okay, so let's ask about the suspect. The range of suspects could be expanded. Then who else might be involved? I don't know. So let's talk about your alibi. Are you sure you don't have any alibi at all? What can I say? How about your motive? Do you have one? I knew him for less than 2 days, and he has nothing to do with my mission. There's also the fact that Ionis' name was crossed out in your notebook. Must we do the same song and dance routine again? No, my notebook is not a kill list or anything like that. And are you not more suspicious than I? You suddenly develop a cold, and there are traces of snow in your room. Most importantly, the arrow from your jaw was found in the wound. What? You know what, Roman? I will not help you if you hide evidence that you have, especially in this kind of situation. Hiding that from everyone is the exact thing the murderer wants you to do, even if the evidence suggests that you did it. It would make you look suspicious indeed. However, we must leave no stone unturned in order to find out the truth. Okay, fine, got it. So when exactly did you go through my drawer? Time to testify. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Just explain the doubts one by one would be good, but can that solve it? Okay, we're going to testify now. Why was the window open? I mean, open by others, or it was blown open by the wind? My window must have been blown open by the wind last night, which is why there was snow. No, that can't be true. The window can only open outwards. How could it be blown apart by the wind? I have to sort out my thoughts and try again. So the window was opened by someone. I closed my window before I went to bed last night, but when I woke up this morning, the window was open. I think it's because somebody opened it. So how would I catch a cold right at this time? Why now? Stars gave me bad luck. The window was open. I walked outside the window. Yeah, someone left it open, so I caught a chill. The windows were open, so my room was flooded with cold air all night, and that's why it was so cold. Then what about the arrow in the drawer? Evidence from my last case? Weapon prepared in advance. It was there before check-in. It's evidence from something else. From the last official case I was on. I came to the White Star before coming back to the agency to drop off the evidence because it was on the way. I didn't want anyone discovering it, so I hid it in the drawer. The rest of the evidence in my backpack matches it. So why was the arrow inserted into Ionis' chest? Wow, Ionis stabbed himself. The killer did it. The arrow should have been inserted by the murderer who stole it based on the evidence at the moment. Am I motivated? I mean, no, but we did give him some money, but it was fair, like we didn't have any complaints about it. As for a motive, I don't really have one. Wait a second. Uh-oh. I mean, I did give him money. Again. Didn't Ionis ask you to pay back some money yesterday? You seem nervous. You think I'd murder my friend for that little money? Also, when his body was found this morning, his wallet's empty? I mean, it's kind of true. Now that I can explain. When he paid the room fee yesterday, he asked me to take care of his extra money while he was here. Okay, why would he do that? To prevent him from gambling again, I guess. Anyway, getting to guard such a large fortune makes me feel a bit dragonish again. That kind of makes sense. I guess I'm free of suspicion for now. La victoire is mienne. What? I've figured out how the murderer committed the vicious crime. What? Are you seriously trying to steal my job now? I mean, we're just taking this guy's word for it that he did guard all night. First, the murderer assembled a collapsible arrow found in Monsieur Detective's jaw, then tied a string to the end of the arrow as a tether. Then he climbed outside the window and skulked like a thief to Ionis' room by using the ledge. The clever murderer opened the window, killed Ionis on his bed, and then pulled the string in an attempt to retrieve the arrow. But because the arrow had been disassembled and assembled repeatedly, the arrow came apart. Quelle surprise! The murderer only received the back half of the arrow. The murderer then returned to his room along the way back with nobody the wiser. This does explain a lot, but something's missing. Roman seems really suspicious if you look at it this way. Oh man. Coming back to Ionis' room that way. then returning to his room, leaving footprints on the ledge outside the window? Everyone looked at me, eyes full of doubts. I was biting my thumb. I needed to hurry up and give an explanation, or else I'll end up as the murderer. I looked at Elegant, and she looked at me too. Although, I believe, given your intelligence and character, you would not commit such a crime. You'd better prove it. Okay, it does make sense when you first hear it, but the evidence contradicts it. Qua, how interesting. Which evidence contradicts Lunic's guess? I think it's the footprints. Because the footprints are shadow outside my window, the snow has filled the footprints in and they're fresher near Ionis's room. So I just need to find that. Here you go, outside windows. Roman's window open, snow on the sill, shadowist. Vincel's deepest, Elegant's second deepest. Ionis's window, second shadowist. So the deepest footprints are in Vincel's window, so they snuck in through the empty room. They didn't actually return to my room. It's contradictory. Why? Well, anyway, I think it's a contradiction. Oh, is that not it? How about just my window on its own? This morning, my window was open. If I really were the murderer, why would I make such a basic mistake? It does not seem like a murderer would do something like that. Okay, keep guessing. I've got a theory. It's just kind of struck me out of nowhere. Someone came in through Vincel's window and there's water, and there's also water on the staircase that Sazan slipped on, which just makes me think that Lunic is the only person who would have been downstairs otherwise. So I think it's Lunic. That's my official guess. We shall see. I need to get what this is. I need to figure this out. Let's try Vincel's window. Okay, that was no good. Hey, why do you keep saying something that doesn't matter? Oh, I'm sorting out my ideas. Sorting out ideas? I think you're just thinking about how to scapegoat someone. Ever since we found Ionis's corpse, your actions have been really suspicious. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice, Roman. No. Oh god, no. Before I could explain, Sazan rushed forward and hoisted me off the ground with his claws around my neck. My feet kicked uselessly in the air as my vision swam and a buzzing filled my ears. Elegant drew a dagger from her waist and rushed at Sazan. Her mouth was wide open, as if she were shouting something. I could feel the blood spatter from Sazan's injured arm, but his grip didn't lose its strength. If anything, it tightened. My vision grew darker. I couldn't hear what she was screaming, as the world seemed to fall away. The last thing I could see as the world went black was the light glinting from the tears on Sazan's snout. Have we been killed? That's not good. We didn't do it, I promise. Oh god, no, game over. Game over. So if you fail too many times, you get killed. We gotta try this again. No, 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 no. Bad ending. Very much a bad ending. Okay, so let's try this again. Hopefully we won't get killed this time. So basically, when you've been asked whether you have a motive or not, I said no, because, you know, I don't actually want to kill the guy. But from outside perspective, yeah, I guess I do have a motive because of the money issue. Strictly speaking, yes, I did have a possible motive. Because last night, Ionis asked me to pay him back some money, and the evidence at the scene, which piece of evidence proves that I'm motivated. Okay, so let's have a look at Ionis's stuff. His wallet was missing, right? Ionis's clothing were on the chest, keys were still in his pocket, but his wallet was empty, and the hemp belt was removed and set aside. Let's go with that. The clothes on Ionis's nightstand made me concerned. What's odd about the clothes on his nightstand? So let's have a look. Ionis's belt was pulled out. The wallet is empty, yeah. Ionis's keys in his pocket. Clothes on the nightstand. No, it's got to be the wallet. If money's the motivation, it's got to be the wallet. I could have been angry because he asked me for money, then killed him when he was asleep and took it back. But that's just a little bit. Now that I can explain. When he paid the room fee yesterday, he asked me to take care of his extra money when he was here. So why would he do that? To prevent him from gambling again, I guess. Anyway, getting to God, such a large fortune makes me feel a little bit dragonish again. Which kinda makes sense. I guess I'm free of suspicion now. La victoire is mienne. What? I've figured out how the murderer committed this vicious crime. What? Are you seriously trying to steal my job? Okay, here we go now. First, the murderer assembled the collapsible arrow. So this is the thing we had before. So let's skip through. This is how we got killed. So the problem is, let's look at the log. So we need to prove that this guy is talking shit. He reckons that it's some kind of weird collapsible arrow or something. So here we go. An iron arrow was found stuck inside the wound, cutting through the pleura, though there was minimal bleeding. And there was a strangulation mark on his neck with no other external injuries. So if it's an iron arrow, it wouldn't just fall apart, would it? The problem is with the body. Elegant, clearly relieved, relaxed her tight shoulders. I don't think Ionis was killed by the arrow. Why was Ionis' death not caused by the arrow injury? I mean, it stabbed him in the lung, but that wouldn't mean instant death. He got the strangle marks. Let's go with the strangle marks. Because of the markings on his neck. And the chest injury didn't bleed all that much, at least not enough to kill him. Therefore, Ionis' death should have been caused by suffocation. How much difference could the different cause of death make? A lot, because it suggested the arrow in the chest was used to throw suspicion on me and muddle the actual evidence. And this method seems familiar to me, or have I seen Lunix's theory before? Didn't he have some kind of Lunix's assumption? Okay, the killer assembled the arrow and attached a string to its end. The killer walked along the edge outside of Ionis' window and shot him. And when he attempted to recover the arrow, part of it came loose. But I think I've got, my case notes. Victims are all found near balconies and windows, dead from blood loss, chests, and had a single pierced wound deep into the viscera. Okay, we'll go with this. You know, the case I completed in Sunnyvale seems very similar to your guess. What are you on about, Monsieur Detective? Whether it's the bow and arrow or the method of recovering the weapon with a string, don't you think it's too similar to be described as a mere coincidence? Some scholars believe that criminals tend to commit crimes following familiar methodologies. Par conséquent, it's not surprising that you would do this. But there are others here who, like me, are very familiar with the case. So, me? Is Elegant? She's sort of, is she? Sorry, I think it's you. No, that's not right. That's not right at all. So, it was Lunix. Okay, was it? And I guess they're kind of partners in crime, aren't they? One of them is Solar. You were there on the day I solved the case, and I also reported to you in detail about the investigation. If someone could frame me in this way, it can only be one of you. Impossible. Neither my husband nor I are that kinda. But shouldn't your window be locked unless the culprit came through your room? Of course not. This is all wrong. Here we go. Why are you so sure? Very simple. Because you said the murderer opened the window, killed Ionis on his bed with the arrow, then pulled the string to retrieve the arrow. Now that the murderer can open Ionis' window, would it be so difficult for him to also open mine? Then how did he do it? Just guessing should not be enough, as admissible as evidence. The window has a drop-off lock. If he inserted a sufficiently thin, hard object through the window gap like a dagger, he could push the lock lever away from the lock position. It's not that difficult, right? However, you and the Grey Cat are still the only two suspects. My name is Elegant, thank you. Also, I suddenly realised something. The scope of the suspects was wrong, because we were wrong about the suspect's starting point the whole time. What was the starting point? The starting point where the suspect climbed out from the inside the room to the ledge. Okay, so where did the suspect move to the outside? So, at the minute, we think they started maybe here, went this way, did the stabbing, and then escaped through Vincent's room. But would they have come from their room? The suspect moved to the outside from the window in Lunix's room. It was me. I was the one. What's going on? Are you sure about that? I don't know what you're thinking, but if you want to cover for someone, don't do it. Where did the suspect move to the outside? The suspect moved to my room. The suspect moved to the outside from the window in my room. Wasn't that you? Sorry, wrong sequence. Okay, we need to get this right. Oh no, I'm not going to get killed again. Oh no. Oh no. No, I am dead. I have messed up. Okay, I've died too many times on this. I think I might have to use a little bit of a guide, because I'm just going to keep making mistakes because I'm not smart enough for these kinds of cases. So it makes sense to think that the order of events, Ionis was killed first up, so you'd strangle the guy and then you'd kind of set to work in shuffling around and grabbing arrows and stabbing again. So yeah, let's start in Ionis' room. The suspect moved to the outside from the window in Ionis' room. The suspect was in Ionis' room from the beginning. After strangling Ionis, the criminal climbed out of the window and made their way toward my room. After removing the window lock from the outside, they checked my nightstand and backpack, took the arrow and returned to Ionis's room. They stabbed the arrow into his chest and climbed out the window again. This is absurd. Okay, so what's he going to say to that? What? No. Was it not established that the suspect can only return to their room through the window from the outside, right? The range of suspects hasn't changed at all. No, the criminal went to another room. From which window did the suspect leave the outside? So, Vincel's room has all the water, so I think we will try that. The suspect left the outside through the window in Vincel's room. Vincel's room is now empty. They could just jump in from there. I think Tarzan didn't lock that room last night. It seems I didn't. In that case, makes sense. Wait, please. If you think that mere words are enough to prove anything... No, I've got conclusive evidence. Which piece of evidence can prove that the murderer left from Vincel's room? Okay, Vincel's window, it said it was not open, but there are water stains, so that proved that snow did come in, but maybe they closed it after themselves. Please check out Vincel's window. Although the window is now closed, there's a puddle of water on the windowsill, which means the killer brought it in as Vincel's drawer. When the murderer entered the room, they brought the snow outside into the room. Moreover, the murderer went downstairs. What evidence can prove that the murderer went downstairs? On the stairs, there's like a stain, isn't there? Stain on the stairs. Puddle of water on the stairs. Tarzan must have stepped in it before he fell. Yeah, water stains on the stairs. It shows that the snow on the murderer was tracked on the stairs. Now that you said no one came downstairs last night, I think it's already clear who the culprit is. Okay, here we go. So what have we got? We've got to start off with the weapon. First, let's talk about the weapon. What is the weapon? I think it's this belt, isn't it? We've proved that it wasn't that arrow, so where's Ionis' clothing? His hemp belt was removed and set aside. Here's the lethal weapon. What is the weapon? We have got the clothes on the nightstand, Ionis' key in his pocket, his wallet's empty, and the belt. It's his belt, yeah. He has bandaged strangulation marks on his neck, and I believe that that's what caused them. The arrow was stuck in him after his death. Okay, so let's now check out the method. Modus operandi. Here's how things played out. Deductive reasoning. Arrange the occurrences chronologically, top to bottom, by dragging chips to each position. What have we got? The suspect took Ionis' wallet away. The suspect strangled Ionis with his belt. The suspect went back and used the arrow. The suspect left Vincel's room. The suspect killed Ionis with the arrow. The suspect entered Ionis' room through the door. The suspect entered Roma's room to collect the arrow. Okay, so first up, he was strangled, right? He took his wallet. I didn't take his wallet, so that is false. And also being killed with the arrow, that is false. So it's 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7 as I understand it. Okay, so we strangled the guy. Then they went back to collect the arrow. Then they stabbed him. Hang on. Suspect went back in and used the arrow. And then the suspect... No. Suspect entered Ionis' room through the door. Really? Oh yeah. Yeah, so then they could open the window. So suspect entered Ionis' room through the door. Suspect strangled Ionis with the belt. Then they went back to my room to collect the arrow. Then they went back again and used the arrow to stab him. And then they left via Vincel's room. We'll try that. This is the sequence of events. There we go. So, where's your suspect? Here we are. The murderer is... Who's the murderer? Well, it's Lunik, isn't it? It's handy when you're on watch, looking for dangerous people when you're the dangerous person yourself. Lunik is the murderer. What are you talking about? Mr. Detective, please. I'll explain this whole case, including your motive and your tricks. You will cease this slander immediately. Oh, sorry, Marcus, I've got to do this. Okay, let's go for the motive. Click. About the motive. According to our inference, you entered Ionis' room through the door. Now here's the question, why did you enter his room at midnight? It seems that you two had a long conversation when deciding who would be the night watchman, and Ionis is naked. Stop, shut up. Why was Ionis naked? Lunit did it, or Ionis did it? I don't know. Ionis undressed himself. Was he used to sleeping naked? I've got no idea, but I think he wasn't undressed to sleep. What? Then what? I think he was undressed because his clothes would have gotten in the way. Are you trying to imply something? It's entirely possible that Lunik and Ionis were involved in a homosexual affair. That's impossible. How could someone be like that? Even if it's true, my husband would never. So you mean Lunik had sex with Ionis before he killed him? Elegant hesitated, but continued anyway. Dare I ask who was on top? I don't believe this. Silence, you dare slander moi. You have no evidence. You'll be punished by God for your lies. No evidence? What do you call this? Elegant raised her paw, showing a pinch of grey fur. I found it on the bed. No, I made sure. Back to the motive. What is his motive? Okay, he was robbery for his money, which wasn't there. Personal grudge. Did they know each other? Or blackmail? I'm guessing Lunik was blackmailed by Ionis, so to prevent his secrets from coming to light, Lunik had to kill him. It would be easy, given how much alcohol and valerian potion Ionis had consumed. To say nothing of the vigorous workout. That too. Anyway, even Ionis could be strangled to death under those conditions. Oh wow. In other words... Okay, here we go. Last evening, Lunik and Ionis agreed to meet in Ionis' room at night. When everyone was asleep, Lunik quietly went upstairs and came to Ionis' door. Did Ionis lock the door? I mean... yeah, I guess. Ionis locked the door. After that, Ionis made some demands in exchange for keeping the secret. So these guys hooked up, even though his wife is next door? And he thought that this would be a good idea because why? Okay. What was Lunik's reaction? I mean, he probably wasn't happy. So, I get... oh, he agreed. We killed him, we know the results. In order not to be blackmailed, Lunik strangled Ionis from behind with a belt on the bedside, leaving the marks on his neck. While thinking about how to find a scapegoat, Lunik remembered the case I solved. So Lunik climbed out of Ionis' window, made his way down the ledge to my room, lifted up the window lock, and opened the window to my room. He took the arrow from my drawer, returned to Ionis' room, put the dead body into a sleeping position, then stabbed him with the arrow to make a wound. Then he left the room through the window, opened Vincel's window, and returned from the unoccupied Vincel's room. He brought the snow outside into the room, leaving a puddle of water after it melted the next day. The snow on him fell when Lunik went downstairs, so there was melted snow on the stairs too. And Sarzan slipped over. Yep. The next day, Sarzan stepped on the puddle when he went downstairs and slipped. A clever trick, but you underestimated me way too much. Oh man. Magnifique, Monsieur Detective. Well done. What? You're not going to deny it? Why should I? It seems you know your situation well then. Je sais bien, but it doesn't matter. Whether I deny it or not, you can't touch me. What are you saying? You murdered someone, so Roman can sentence you. None of you are of the nobility. Oh, you don't even have a proper judge right now. What are you... The Helios Code stipulates that a common-born judge may not sit in judgment over a noble. Remember, I told you this earlier today. Would it be possible to... If you so much as think of trying to tie me up with that feline merchant, I will see to it that your business is destroyed. How could this be? Does this mean the whole investigation was in vain? Do you understand? Then I suggest you all forget this ever happened. Lunik sneered at us like we were insects. Yes, I killed that useless muscle-bound oaf. What of it? My only regret, Monsieur Detective, is that you and your cat friend are so good at ferreting out extramarital affairs. What? Last night, Ionis and I... Oh, God. Solas stabbed him. Lunik's sneer froze in the look of shock, and the dark red stain began to spread across his forest green coat. The dark green cloth made the red blood look even darker, as though his malice was leaking out of the wound. You... Lunik collapsed onto the carpet, the blood from the stab wound slowly pooled under him. The bloody knife clattered to the floor. Sola stood still, but tears dripped down through her fur. What happened? I don't know. Soda dropped down, squatting beside Lunik, who was still convulsing and letting out garbled gasps. Tarzan took half a step forward, but I quickly stopped him. What are you doing? Tarzan glared at me, his voice a snarl of anger. No, don't. It's not safe to approach her now. But the Marquis, even if he wanted to do something, a stab wound like that is pretty fatal. I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be like this. While Soda was waiting, Elegant quietly approached and picked up her dropped dagger. Darling, I'm sorry. I really don't want to. Thrivy ran down the stairs carrying a first aid kit, pushing Herring out of the way as he started to rush to Lunik. I'm sorry. Soda collapsed on the carpet and Thrivy hurried to her and turned her over. She's fainted, she's fine. Okay, what about Lunik? Thrivy put his hand on Lunik's chest and then his throat and sighed and shook his head. I'm afraid he's gone. God has his own arrangements. One case down, one more to... I don't think so. Why? You already forgot. According to the Helios Code, a common-born judge might not sit in judgment over a noble. As the Marquis, Soda is also sheltered by that statute. In other words, we can't legally do anything about Soda. And I see no reason to. Oh, okay, that's kind of harsh, but, she's still a murderer. She literally just killed him before us. But there's nothing I can do. Whatever I say doesn't matter. Soda woke up. Okay, let's go have a chat. Okay, so I think we can probably leave that for this episode. There was quite a lot of twists and turns, and we don't know what's going to come of it. Ian got killed because he was being blackmailed, because Lunik was trying to have a little bit of action outside of his marriage. Soda didn't seem to like that and killed him. So we're going to find out what happens in the next episode. This is Usho signing off, and hopefully I'll see you next time.